Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello friends, welcome to this fourth lecture of Module 11 on Geomorphology of Sea and Sea Source, Shoreline Engineering Geology, Hazards and Mitigation. In previous lectures we have discussed about the wave propagation in deep and shallow water, recognized as deep water waves and shallow water waves and different type of waves. Now in this aspect we are going to elaborate about erosion induced and deposition assisted landforms formed in sea coast area or shore area. In this lecture we are going to elaborate about erosional and depositional landforms associated with coastal zone or shore zone. Regarding this, we are going to elaborate about introduction related to processes of sea waves in general, and then about the factors affecting erosion, different type of landforms caused by erosion, and different type of landform caused by depositional activity of the waves, then the landform in shallow sea and landform in deep sea. Deep sea is not our target, but for supports we will discuss. As you know, the morphology of foreshore varies to a great extent, having trough at some places and having soft nature in some places. Some of the area full of the terraces and some of the area is covered by sand and gravel. The littoral zone with worms and the gentle slope of the sea extending down to 200 meter is recognized as shelf. Then after increment in depth we are going to recognize as slope, and then further in depth we are recognizing as abyssal, then deep trenches and others. This is overall the features of the lands lying below the water of sea or ocean. The seashore landforms are the topographical structure or features existing along the seashore area or coastal area formed due to grouping of processes, sediments, and the characteristic of geogrounds present in seashore area or coastal area. The sea level rise establishes through the redistribution of coastal landforms which act to attenuate waves and tidal energy, and resulting various type of activities related to waves. The attenuated waves and tidal energy ultimately resulting variation in energy condition at a range of spatial and temporal scale. The most important action of sea wave is erosion. The seashore coastal erosion results long-term losses of the rocks and sediments from the area near to the seashore or coastal zone. It also causes redistribution of coastal sediments in form of deposition. Besides erosion, as we have discussed, the sea waves also form some landforms through deposition of sand and gravels near the shore area. The waves generated by the winds move forward and with oscillatory movement of high amplitude toward the shore side. Due to tide action, the zone lying between high tides and low tide is recognized as intertidal zone, and this intertidal zone is a very typical, particularly from ecological point of view. Different type of living component residing in such situation. This intertidal zone is a very typical, sometime exposed to environment or atmosphere and sometimes under the water. During the low tides, some portion exposed to the environment. During the high tide, covered with marine. And these situations occur every day. It is located on marine coastal line, comprises of the shore made up of rock strata and sandy beaches. In intertidal zone, which involve the two different states, the mean sea level. During the low tides, the water covers this zone. Middle tide is a transition, and during high tides, this water reaches up to this level. So what happens? During low tides and these high tides, there is a zone recognized as intertidal zone. So at time T1, suppose low tidal water level here, this zone is exposed to environment. In such situation, there is a lot of activity concerned to deposition of sediments or the change in physico-mechanical property or mechanical response of the material present here. In terms of mechanics, however, in terms of ecology, some of the animals started surviving during the open space available which is exposed to the environment. After certain time, this whole community experience the pressure of water due to high tides. Therefore, the animals residing in these intertidal zones have capacity, naturally have capacity to withstand with such type of variation and change in pressure. Therefore, generally in marine animals of these tidal zones having some calcium carbonate cells to bear with the pressure caused by such changes in water column. Although ecology we are not going to elaborate, that is the job of different persons. The intertidal zone involves two different states. One at the low tide when it is exposed to the air, and second at high tides when it is submerged in the seawater, and the zone is completely submerged by the tide once or twice every day. Therefore, the material present or the strata present in this zone is subjected to complicated type of stress condition and resulting lot of changes in their physico-mechanical property and resulting lot of de-integration of materials along with the waves of sea. If this zone is made up of rock strata or rocky shoreline, the tide pools can form holes, cracks or crevices when the sea water collects as a tide goes out. There is a development of lot of cavities and others which generally utilized by the marine living components. The high tide zone is only submerged at the high tide. This zone is known as high tide zones when submerged during the high tides, and then middle tidal zone is lying between low tidal zone and this zone, low tidal zone. overall this whole zone is recognized as intertidal zone. The wave movement result to and fro movement of the sand, and this to and fro movement of the sand is also enhancing the erosion. Therefore we can say that are helping the erosion. Therefore we can say that the erosion is facilitated by hydraulic action, abrasion, impact and corrosion. The landforms of the coastal zone caused by erosion is mainly cliffs, formation of cliffs, formation of platform, formation of caves, formation of arches, stacks, stumps, headland, etc. So one by one we are going to elaborate the erosion. Started from the erosion of the shallow sea shore. In shallow sea shore, the large scale erosion is recognized over large extent of the shore, and the foreshore is affected by the waves and currents of the ocean. However, or whereas the backshore having several burns and is affected by erosion and subsidence, mostly by the high tides and swells. Besides these general waves, the tsunami have a devastating impact on both the foreshore and backshore. In this class, we are going to elaborate mainly the wind waves and the swells. The eroded material are carrying away with the water when the rock chips and the denser particles are taken back and deposited again at the edge. So deposited at the edge is responsible for depositional landforms, where the removal of the particle is responsible for erosional landforms. And this forward and backward movement of particle is a continuous process causing lot of abrasive action or the rubbing of the different particles, resulting ultimately the reduction in size, which come in form of pebbles, cobbles, gravels and sand. The major erosion induced landforms, particularly in shallow water, the forward movement of the waves causes undercutting of the landscape present in nearby area, either in form of rock strata, either in form of sand or soil or loose materials. Particularly the formation of cliff until its supported top collapses in certain cases. In case of the sediments or sands, sometimes the erosional impact of waves is going to finish the whole existence of the sandy area and shifted the eroded sediments to the another side. Therefore, we can say that the coastal area is not static in nature, particularly in view of landforms. The landform status of the coastal area is dynamic in nature. Sometimes the sand beach is located at point A with a gap of 5 years, 2 years or 1 year. The sand beach may shift from point A to point B. Or point A is covered by some rock cliffs. After 10 years, maybe a plain area or maybe change in form of sand beach or gravel beach. If the beds are bent in the cliff, rock strata or rock slope toward the ocean, the overhanging cliffs may be formed. But if the beds are landward slope and gentle in nature, then the features form inclined toward the landslide and landward. The cliff contains soft rock dipping landward, the cliff is liable to be undermined by the ocean water. In such situations, there is a development of certain features recognized as cave, recognized as arches, recognized as bridges, recognized as stacks, etc. The factor affecting the erosional process, we can see varieties of geological structures such as faults, shear zones, joints, bedding plains, weather pockets, and many features representing discontinuities is going to influence the erosional effect as inherent parameter, and on the other hand, the energy present in waves along the characteristic of sea waves is going to control the erosional activity as extrinsic parameter. In one example, if we are going to see about the effect of fault zones, friends, as you know, the fault zones we have already discussed. The fault zone consisting of some soft and fragile materials. When the waves are coming from the deeper side to the shallower side, and when going to interact with fault zone, then the soft material present in fault zone, the waves are going to erode easily in comparison to the rocks present without effect of fault. So in this way, this zone comprised of some soft materials eroded easily in comparison to the zone lying nearby. So in this way, they are going to form certain type of features. The presence of fault is principally responsible for formation of bay and headland, and this type of feature, this headland and the bay, is formed through such erosive action. The waves going to strike some soft zone, going to erode more, become wave, and some hard zone without fault or without weak zone, the waves are unable to erode more. Due to such differential erosional impact, there is a formation of headland and wave. This way is utilized for movement of ships and others to reach the shore and others in human activity. As far as erosional landforms are concerned, we have major type of erosional landforms generally observed in coastal area, is particularly known as cliffs, caves, arches, stacks, cut notch, and built terraces or platform. So we are going to see quickly one by one. If the shore area is made up of rock strata and the cliff of rock strata present in the coast zone or shore zone are affected to a great extent by the erosion, and the erosion is strongest near the level where the waves break, and as in previous discussion we have discussed, the wave breaks close to the shore or coastal area. The breaking of waves resulting lot of erosional effect due to formation of currents which try to move or collect the material from the shore area due to effect of erosion and try to take the material toward the deeper side, offshore side. In case of the cliffs made up of rock strata, the waves started undermine the root zone or the foot side, and in this way there is a development of some cliffs recognized as cliff face or rock face. If the top portion of the rocky elevated part is covered by the swale, then the swale zone can be eroded easily by the waves. Therefore, there is a different type of features in dry season and in wet season, are the area saturated with seawater or dry without saturation. The swale mass or the swale layer on the rocky place absorb water on cliff face and undergoes soap failure, causing extensive loss of the coastal land after sliding off such cliff. The erodibility of ocean-facing rock is controlled by the strength and the presence of features or discontinuity and beds of non-cohesive materials such as sand, silt, gravels, etc. In case of the coastal area made up of rock mass or rock strata having layer of fractured rock, produce varying amount of resistance to the erosion, but on one side, on another side going to help the erosion. Fractured rocks are eroded fast due to loose nature and they change the coastal and forming pillars, columns, tunnels, bridge-like structures like arches and the rock cliffs. The cliffs of rock strata in the shore comprises of the hard rock may avoid erosion to some extent. However, in span of time, the process continuous strike of the ocean waves is going to create lot of chips and lot of disintegration of the cliff face and resulting formation of varieties of structures. In case of long cliffs present near the coast facing the sea water, then erosive action of the sea waves forms different features in shore zone. In such situation, there is a formation of some pillar-like structure and some platform-like structure near the foot and pillar-like structures near the that extended along the coastal line. So a wall type of structures you can observe nearby the seashores, and some seating type of place you can get sometimes covered under the water and sometimes exposed to the surface, can utilize for picnic and others as a sea platform. In general, the ocean waves scrub some portion of the coastal line exposing the rock strata, and this process is responsible for parting a vertical face above the water and a platform below the sea water, sometimes exposed and available for the tourist and others. You can see a view of cliff formed due to cutting of a notch out of the rock strata near the bottom of the cliffs, which lead to instability above the notch, and due to this what happens, the strata attached to this after detachment going to fall inside the sea and going to leave such type of features. The sea cliff is a vertical features created by waves crashing directly on a steeply inclined slope, and the hydraulic action, abrasions and chemical solution all work to cut a notch at the high water level near the base of cliff. Beside this cliff there is a formation of platform also with continuous increment in erosion on the cliff made up of rock strata. There is a formation of some hole due to continuous striking of waves. Suppose this is the strata where the waves are going to continuously strike. So sometimes what happens, they are going to create some halo type of structures inside the rocky cliffs, and such type of opening tunnel like structure we are going to recognize as sea caves. These becomes caves So we are going to recognize as sea caves. The cliff along the coastal line, the abrasion round a bowl-shaped features at the bottom of the cliff called as ocean cave or sea cave. This type of structure, and when such type of cave structure is extended further, it makes some arch type of structure recognized as sea arches. Sometimes due to development of fracture, either influenced under gravitational force or due to continuous pressure caused by the waves of the ocean, some portion of this bridge is going to show failure and fall inside the ocean water and leaving a pillar type of structure recognized as stack. So over a period of time, the top of the arch collapses and creating stacks. These are features of the coastal erosion that occurs when the land that connect the pillar in the ocean or sea to the headland collapses, leaving a tower of rock in the ocean, sometimes utilized by man for different purpose. You can see one view of stack, one view of arch. These photographs I have taken from the shores. In addition to this, we have some here cliff here on the vertical face side, and near the toe we have this bottom platform type of structure formed by the, because it depends on the resistance and strength of the rock strata which are responsible for formation of such elevated rocky land. The platform can only be identified at low tides or when storms move the sands. After the constant grinding and battering, eroded material is transported to adjacent way to become a beach or seaward coming to rest at the wave-built terraces. Beside this, we have two types of very famous type of landforms generally associated with sea, particularly in very cold locations like Norway, like Greenland, etc. So cold region of the world, we are having a particular famous landform is fjords. These are lowland ocean inlet along the coast with high sides and U-shaped in cross profile. You can see this is the view of fjords. Here the ocean water enter inside and the shape of this is a U-shape. Section also you can get U-shape. These are depends by glaciers, the ice formed by cold temperature, cold region that deposits the end moraines and form fjords. You can see in Norway, in Alaska, New Zealand, Greenland, etc. Beside these fjords, it is a partially not dominated by erosion. It is a less dominated by erosion and more dominated by deposition of moraines. The fjord is different from the fjord. The fjord is nothing. It is showing V-shaped profile. So fjords U-shape and fjord V-shape. These are also lowland ocean inlet, depends by glaciers but are V-shaped in surface configuration. In spelling, here O and here A. They are similar to fjords but are small islands at the ocean end, and these are found in the southern part of the Sweden and also Nova Scotia. So for memory you can recognize fjords as U-shaped sea inlet and the fjords as V-shaped sea inlet. You can see view. Beside this one also landforms we are going to recognize as the Dalmatians. The Dalmatians coastal lines appears as the drawn mountain ridge parallel to the ocean. Flooding along the coastland has also formed valley and small isolated ridges as a narrow offshore recognized as the Dalmatian. Beside Dalmatians, we have some estuaries where the water enter inside the land area and develop various types of features, very important from economical, from ecological and biological and the sea survival points of view. The estuaries is a part of the lowland tidal river mouth flanked by the mudflat. Many of the estuaries occurs as the submerged river valley, owing their existence to the post-glacial rise in the sea level. Hence, they usually contain lots of deposited sediments and lot of forest land and as mangroves and others due to high fertility of such zone estuaries. Varieties of animals and others. In India, you can see the mangroves and the change in species, particularly in Sundarban area, located in West Bengal, India. The some estuaries shows integrate pattern of the channels, largely the results of erosion. Both incoming and outgoing tidal rivers are general freshwater river. These characteristic features are seen in many river mouths such as Thames, St. Lawrence and Ganges. And the erosion of these we have discussed. Erosion of the cliff area made up of rock strata. If the shore area is made up of sand, gravel and soil, then the erosion in shore made up of sand, soil or loose materials are more extensive and intensive, sometimes resulting the loss of whole landforms at one place and the formation of same landforms on another place. Shifting of beaches is a good example. Beside this, we have depositional landforms formed in coastal zone. The deposition of eroded materials by sea waves are resulted various kinds of landforms along the coast zone. Wave act as principal erosional agents. However, the same time the waves is also going to help in deposition, as the wave act as the principal source of shaping the coast through deposition of eroded materials, that is in form of storm waves deposits a large quantity of pebbles and silt and clays in coastal zone to give rise a landform of different patterns or different landforms of different patterns. The littoral current produced by action of waves moving at an angle to the coast carry huge load of sand, silt and pebbles. Extensive beaches are formed when the coastland slopes gently sloping toward the ocean side. However, when the current is drifted back toward the ocean, the materials are also carried away from the coast as offshore deposits, even on the steeply sloping coastal zone or coastal floor, are sometimes deposited even on the continental shelf and continental slope also if there is any burn. The depositional landforms, one of the example is a beach. Beach is a very important depositional landforms. You can see the beach is the area between the lowest spring tide levels and the point reached by the storm waves in the highest tide. Beaches are comprised of sand, shingles and pebbles, cobbles, etc. The beaches are fragile ribbons of sand that are frequently broken by action of nature and man. The beaches are dynamic landforms altered by wind and waves in a continual process of creation and erosion. Therefore, the beaches are of dynamic nature, may exist, may not exist. Seasonal cycles of sand deposition and loss dramatically affect the appearance of beaches from summer to winter. This such example we can observe throughout the world close to the different beaches. It is an ecosystem found on marine shoreline where a multitude of organisms living on the shore surviving changes between high and low tides and they adjust. The nature has provided certain covers and others to shape themselves from such type of changes in environment as well as pressure caused by water column. Profile wise, we have already discussed this, decorated by dunes, then the back shore, foreshores, near shores, and this whole zone we are going to recognize as a beach. Then the offshore, that is the ocean. The beach may be made up of sand, recognized as sandy beaches, and sandy beaches are commonly found in the way where the water is shallow and the waves of the low energy. This ocean waves is going to produce deposition assisted sediments accumulation and responsible for formation of sandy beach. If the energy of the waves are higher in comparison to this situation responsible for formation of sandy beach, then they are able to gather gravels, particularly pebbles and others, and such type of zone is recognized as pebble beach. Beside this, based on the shape, we are able to classify different type of beaches as crescentic shaped beaches. The name is self-explanatory. The beach area is small in extension and is made up of mainly sand. Long shore beaches, as the name indicates, these are present in a narrow belt extending for a long distance in coastal area, and such beaches are covered mainly by the thick deposits of the sand. Then the lowland beaches, this is found in the upper shore region, occupying broad areas consisting mainly of sand with a fringe of pebbles and rock fragments in upper part. So in such zones there is a composite type of layering. Beside these beaches and others, there is a formation of mud flats and the salt marshes and the deposition of silt and clay by tides that are drawn at a high tide forms mud flats and the salt marshes in estuaries and way area. Such mud flat and salt marshes very important from different engineering as well as biological observations. In the Bay of Bengal of the eastern India, the swamps of the mangrove trees grow in plenty in such mud flat and the marshy land. Similar to this Bay of Bengal, the other places of the world belonging to coastal zone also having rich mangrove trees and others. But Sundarban is a very famous. Characteristic wise, we can see the sandy beach and pebbles related to almost flat, constructive, long way, sand dunes, water field, depressions, characteristic of the sandy beach. However, the pebbles beach is a steep, destructive, not far, storm beach and the large pebbles increases toward the back, etc. The split is nothing. It is the path for ingress of seawater inside the land area is recognized as a split. It is a split, and split is an extended stretch of sand or the shingles jetting out into the sea from the land, and splits occurs when there is a change in shape of landscape or there is a river mouth. Due to deposition of sediments, the water ingress or water present inside look like injected inside this land. So such type of formation of land area make the split type of situation. The split can grow across a way and join two headlands together, and the landform is known as bar. This landform is known as bar, and this empty space known as split. Bar, you can see there is a formation of bar, and you can see due to formation of bar there is some low-lying area. The split can grow across a way and join two headland together, and this landform is known as a bar, and they are trapping shallow lakes behind the bar, and this depressed field depression is called as lagoons. Sometimes it is filled by sediments and formation of such type of bars. Beside the bars there is a formation of sand dunes. You can see the formation of sand dunes. The dunes where the beach is wide enough to allow for the accumulation of wind-blown sand, and where the prevailing onshore wind tend to blow sand inland. In such situation there is a formation of sand dunes. The presence of some barrier in form of some natural elevated part or vegetation or pebbles or any obstacle is going to help in formation of dunes. This aspect I have prepared from book written by Gangopadhyay based on concept of engineering geology, published by Oxford University Press. Partial supports from the engineering geology book written by Well F.G. and partial supports from the textbook of engineering geology, and partial help regarding the submarine slides and others. Some aspect taken from this paper but very limited. As far as conclusion is concerned, the dunes forms where the beach is wide enough to allow for the accumulation of wind-blown sand, and where prevailing onshore wind tend to blow sand inland. The deposition of eroded material by sea waves are result of various kinds of landform along the coast side or shore side, and the rate at which the cliff falls debris is removed from the foreshore depends on the power of waves moving toward the coast zone. However, the shallow water, the forward movement of wave causes undercutting of the landscape and formation of cliff until its supported top collapse. Besides these, varieties of erosion-induced landforms and deposition-assisted landforms can be observed in dynamic coastal zone throughout the world. Dear friends, in this class we have elaborated about different features related to erosion and deposition available in coastal zone. Thank you very much.